Divinity Original Sin 2 Definitive Edition arrived a little over 2 weeks ago, and with it came some interesting changes to the game. While most builds remained untouched, there are some tweaks to a few of them. Players have been asking me not only to update these builds, but also create new ones. In this guide, I will be introducing the Glacial Guardian and explaining just how it works. This is the first of 2 summoner builds this week, with a Summoner of Sparks coming in just a couple of days. The Glacial Guardian uses a mix of Hydrosophist and summoning skills in order to control the battlefield in which they are fighting. One of the problems that water mages can have is that they have to set chilled plus chilled or chilled plus wet in order to freeze enemies. And although several Hydrosophist skills hit with multiple projectiles preventing this issue, often they run out of skills to use. By adding summoning to a Titleist sort of build, not only is this obstacle resolved, but totems summoned on water or ice will hit for water damage. Water damage makes targets wet if they have no magic armor, which will freeze chilled enemies or allow them to be frozen much more easily. The best way to start this build is by picking the Conjurer class, removing points from Constitution, and placing them into Intelligence. Then remove the point from Leadership and place it into Hydrosophist. Then remove Dimensional Bolt and Conjure Incarnate, and select Hail Strike and Rain. This will allow you to summon water totems from the very beginning of the game, but you'll want to pick up the Incarnate as soon as you can. Race is not overly important with this build, but Human is probably the best here because of Encourage. Flesh Sacrifice, while good, lowers your Constitution, unequipping your shield, so Elf is not recommended. As far as attributes go, you'll be dumping most of them into Intelligence to increase your damage with water spells, but you'll need at least a few points into Wits to help you go first in combat. Because you'll be using the Glass Cannon talent, you cannot afford to go second, or you may not get a turn. You'll also need a few points into Constitution in order to meet the requirements for your shield, and probably a couple into Strength to be able to use Strength-based armor. Place points in memory as needed. Armor-wise, you'll want to use a mix of Intelligence and Strength-based armor in order to get a good mix of physical and magical armor. You'll look for equipment with Summoning and Hydrosophist on it in order to increase your Totem, Incarnate, and Water spell damage. Wits or Initiative are also good, so take them as well if you can't find these first 2. The weapon that Glacial Guardians use is not overly important, and they are best served by using one that provides the same benefits as listed above, as they won't be attacking with it. However, a critical chance is also nice to have because it increases the damage of your water spells, so look for that as well. Glacial Guardians will begin with 1 point in Hydrosophist and 1 point in Summoning. They should then invest 1 point into Scoundrel in order to obtain Adrenaline, before taking Summoning and Hydrosophist to 2 points each. This will allow you to gain nearly every Hydrosophist and Summoning skill you will need. From this point forward, you'll want to pump Summoning until you reach 10, and then start maxing Hydrosophist. As far as talents go, I'd recommend the following. Elemental Affinity. This talent allows you to cast many water spells in one turn, which is a must with this build. Take this one during character creation and use Rain to grant its effect. Glass Cannon. This talent gives you 6 AP every turn in exchange for status effects going through your armor. This is a tough talent to play with, but summoners in general are AP monsters, and Glacial Guardians cast spells on top of summoning. Because you'll be freezing many enemies, you will not be in as much danger as you think. Substitute Lone Wolf for this talent if you are playing solo or with a friend. Savage Sword Leash. This talent will allow your Hydrosophist skills to critically strike, which you will need in order to keep enemies frozen. Take this one at the end of Act 1 or beginning of Act 2 when your critical chance gets to be around 20%. Living Armor. The only heal you slot with this build is Vampiric Hunger Aura, so you might think this is a bad choice. However, most water spells hit many targets, making you replenish magic armor easily. Far Out Man. Nearly every spell you cast is affected by this talent, so consider taking it if you find you need just a bit more range. It's not a must, but sometimes it makes all the difference in the world. Hothead. This will increase your overall critical chance by 10% and accuracy by 10% when at max vitality. Accuracy isn't useful for casting, but the extra 10% critical chance can help boost your damage, resulting in more frozen enemies. Glacial Guardians use a mix of Hydrosophist and Summoning skills in order to deal substantial water damage and keep enemies crowd controlled. The following is a list of skills you will use, and I will put them in order you should obtain them in. Character Creation. Rain. Casting Rain before or right at the beginning of combat will give you Elemental Affinity and allow you to summon water totems and a Water Incarnate. It also makes enemies wet, which helps to freeze them. Hail Strike. This will be your go-to damaging spell until you reach level 4 and more skills become available. Be careful not to hit other party members, but you won't have to worry about your totems or Incarnate as they will be immune to water damage. Elemental Totem. You cannot have more than 3 of these out at the same time, but it's a good idea to cast one every turn if possible, because they only last 3 turns each. Cast them in water in order to make them deal water damage. Character levels 1 to 3. Conjure Incarnate. This skill allows you to summon an Incarnate that gets progressively more powerful as the game advances. At summoning level 10, it becomes a force to be reckoned with, and you can buff it for even increased damage. Summon it in water to make it deal water damage. Farsight Infusion. This skill increases your incarnate damage by 25%, provides it some magic armor, and gives it a ranged attack that has a 1-turn cooldown. You'll need all of these things. Armor of Frost. Armor of Frost will give you the magic shell status, which increases your overall magic armor. Though it cannot prevent status effects, it will be useful in keeping you or a party member alive. Adrenaline. Possibly the best non-source skill in the game, it provides you with 2 AP this turn in exchange for 2 AP next turn. Summoners need lots of AP on their first turn to set up the battlefield, so this one is extremely useful. Character levels 4 to 8. Winter Blast. This skill gives you some AoE freeze capability and only costs 1 AP while standing in water. It also doesn't harm friendly targets, so don't be afraid to use it liberally. Ice Fan. You can hit 3 different targets with this skill, allowing for multiple frozen enemies. Keep in mind that totems will freeze chilled enemies, so you only need to chill them if you have enough totems. These also hit in a small AoE, so aim at the ground and not at the enemy directly. Power Infusion. This buffs your incarnate with physical armor, plus 25% damage, and adds Whirlwind and Battering Ram to its skills. Probably the best all-around infusion there is, and you want to use it near the beginning of combat to prevent your incarnate from dying quickly. Character levels 9 and up. Dominate Mind. You can use this skill to convert any enemy with no magic armor to a friendly for 2 turns. This is one of the most powerful non-source skills in the game, so use it when you can't freeze target. Global Cooling. A huge AoE that chills enemies with no magic armor and freezes water. Use this to chill lots of enemies that will then be frozen by your totems, or freeze enemies that are already chilled. Vampiric Hunger Aura. I have honestly never seen this skill used in any other build anywhere. However, it has insane range and affects all friendlies, including summons as well. In addition, it's an aura, meaning that it will affect any new summons. This skill is a great way to provide healing to your entire group offensively for very little AP. Icebreaker. This skill destroys ice surfaces, dealing water damage to any target standing on them, friend and foe alike. Since your totems and incarnate should be immune to water damage, you only need to worry about other party members when using it. You can use other skills as well, but these are the ones I suggest. Soulmate is great for removing terrible status effects from your incarnate or other party members, and Rallying Cry can be an effective heal with this build. Deep Freeze is also not a bad choice, but Glacial Guardians tend to move very little, so it may not be able to reach the targets you want. As I mentioned above, summoners are AP hogs and they need 6 AP just to summon their incarnate, buff it, and summon a totem. If you use Adrenaline, that leaves you 2 AP to cast Rain and then Winter Blast or Encourage. For this reason, I strongly advise casting Rain and then summoning and buffing your incarnate before combat begins. This will save you 5 of the 8 AP listed above. This will allow you to cast many more water spells, ensuring you freeze at least a few targets. You will deal plus 20% damage from elevation by default, and so will totems if cast higher than their targets. Consider starting combat above if you can, or if you get some gear with Scoundrel on it, consider picking up Cloak and Dagger. You shouldn't need to move often, but sometimes you'll absolutely need to, and having a jump skill will save you lots of AP. Consider adding Venomous Aura to your skills or have a party member take it. It nearly doubles the damage your totems will do, and since it's poison damage, it helps to strip magic armor faster. It also has a huge range, and because it's an aura, it will affect summons that come into play after it is cast. Lastly, it's a good idea when using Glass Cannon to have other party members with skills that can pick you up if knocked down, or unfreeze or unshock you if you're frozen or stunned. Things don't always go according to plan, and you don't want to miss out on turns because of this. First Aid, Armor of Frost, Peace of Mind, and Soulmate are what you are looking for. As always, be sure to check out our other build guides, and good luck, sorcerers. Rivlon is counting on you.